Welcome, Arianna Piccialli. We are today here for the occasion of the International Day of Women and Girls in Science. I believe it's the 6th edition since that the United Nations has established this day in December 2015. So if the first one was 2016, we should be in the 6th year that this is happening. So February 11th has been chosen to be the day for women and girls in science to promote full and equal access to and participation in science and technology for women and girls. Before we jump into the why and how of this special day, I would like to introduce Arianna Piccialli, who will be speaking about this topic today. Because she is the Benelux Diversity Officer of Europlanet Society. She's also a scientist at BIRA-USB, working in planetary aeronomy on missions to Mars, Venus, and such the like. She's been around quite a bit. She's been in Germany for her PhD and in the Netherlands in Paris. And today she's been for 4 years at BIRA here in Brussels, Belgium. So welcome, Arianna. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Lucy. Hi, everyone. Nice to be
Here, indeed, in the virtual session.
in the virtual session. Yes.
Yes. Let's see. So tell us maybe a little bit about why Women and Girls in Science is an important day to celebrate or to pay attention to every year, both for the United Nations and maybe for you personally as well. What do you think?
Well, what was the main objective of the United Nations is that today we have less than 30% of women researchers in the STEM, so science, technology, engineer, mathematics. And of course, this is an average. It changed from one country to another. And also this average is changing with time over the career. So right now we have quite a lot of students, girl students in STEM disciplines, but this, with the career steps, these are going to decrease. And this is a problem for the whole society because we should really aim to have a diverse society as much as possible, because to work in a diverse environment, it's very important for the whole society. It helps to have better creativity, to have innovation. So we really aim to have an inclusive society in general.
And do you think that this day is going to help to do this? I don't know if you know of any special events that are already occurring on 11th of February.
Yes, usually there are several events in all countries. So in Belgium there is BWise, that it's the platform for women scientists that is organize activities and events. And I know I'm Italian, so I know that in Italy there are several initiatives. So I think at European level and not only, there are a lot of special events on this specific day, and it's really to promote women in science.
Yes, it seems to be very important, especially with societal issues that we deal with today. It's important to have anyone who can help in issues like developing medicines and vaccines for
Yes.
for the big problems we are still experiencing today, or with climate change. And I think also so many girls are missing out on a career in science. There's a lot of research going around the why and how, but we know for a fact that it is there. You have done some research on how the COVID epidemic has impacted the life of women researchers who try to combine career and family, and and have had some troubles these days. Can you tell us more about this?
Yes, of course. So in with some colleagues from Italy, we analyzed the impact of COVID on the women astronomy researcher in Italy. And the idea was really because Italy was one of the first countries to enter in lockdown, and it was quite long, from beginning of March up to end of May, June. And so the idea was really to see, the study was born because we were speaking within each other with colleagues, and the idea was really to understand which kind of impact this measure had on the life of researcher in general and on women. And so the way to understand was to analyze the productivity of researchers. Usually, how do you can you measure the productivity of a researcher? It is looking at the publication record of researcher. And so what was seen is that if we consider the average of all the year from 2017 to today, the average was decreasing in general for all researchers of the production rate. So researchers were publishing less in 2020 compared to the 3 previous years. But when we divided the women and men publication, we discovered that men were publishing more. So they were publishing about 10% more than compared to previous years. So the decrease was really due mainly to the decrease in the publication rate of women. To understand, trying to explain this decrease, the only possibility was really to think at a different workload at home of all non-paid tasks, like taking care of children or doing typical workload at home. And this is quite, it was quite shocking to see that in 2020 we still have this strong difference, because you have to think that during lockdown, also, for example, grandparents could not take care of children. So really, women, all the families had to take care themselves of all these tasks that usually...
It seems like, in a way, the COVID situation has enhanced an effect that was already there, but smaller. And now that this crisis situation is happening, we clearly see how much more time women are spending on their family and children, even in their research careers. Well, when they are researchers. So, but how do you think that this could be solved? Because I think it would be strange to say that, if we don't know if the women want to spend so much time on their families or would they rather spend it on research? Maybe it's a choice that they made consciously. Do you maybe have any contact with the research subjects? Have you asked how it came to be that they are spending less time on research?
Compared to their husband or boyfriend, I think there is the task, the workload tasks are not distributed in an equal way. Why is that? It's probably for society reason, for it's complex. It comes from society because women are used to
the gender roles.
The gender rules. This is difficult to change. Of course, during the COVID, it's an extreme situation, so you can see more extreme things like that. But in general, we should think about it. I think it's difficult to understand what can really be done at level of policies, and probably I am myself not an expert. I think this is just really the first step to see, look, there is a problem.
Just to acknowledge it, yes.
And then there must be policies at the level of, in our case, at the level of, for example, the European countries that can help the situation. So taking, don't know, helping with career break, because, for example, COVID situation was very difficult for all kind of reasons. Also, for example, for researchers who were not a permanent position, for postdocs, for young researchers that have to look for another postdoc and to look for another project. There were a lot of problem of mental health. So of course it is a gender problem, but not only. So probably
yes,
in the future we have to take in account that these months were really extreme and difficult for everybody from different point of view.
Yes, absolutely. But of course, yes, we have to choose what we pay attention to, and so we are really trying to focus on one of the many issues today, and this should be the difficulties that women have when they want to have careers, especially in science. It's a good thing to have the research because we need to know what is happening. And unfortunately, it is very difficult to find solutions, but we should continue at least on trying to solve what we can solve today and see what we can do tomorrow for the next problems.
And also, I think this day it's important also for, it's not only women in science, but also girls in science.
Yes.
And I think it's also important to give visibility to women, to be a role model for future scientists and for girls. So
Yes.
this is something that needs to be taken into account because often women scientists are not always present, and this is one of the reasons why girls are not pursuing a career in science.
Yes, I think probably when you don't see many women working in science, not visibly at least, it doesn't even occur as a possibility. Well, maybe another issue, I was quite surprised. Well, maybe surprised is a big word. I'm not surprised, but it was something that I didn't know before, is the gender gap on Wikipedia. And so one of the issues which is a reflection of the gender roles and gender gap in society is this Wikipedia gender gap, and you are also participating in doing something about this.
Yeah, so now very recently Wikipedia was doing 20 years of Wikipedia we had, so it was its anniversary. And what was really striking me, I really entered very recently in the world of Wikipedia. So less than 10% of editors on Wikipedia are women. Mostly are men, white men from the northern countries, moreover. And when we see at the biography of people on Wikipedia, less than 18% today, in September 2020, less than 20%, about 18% of biography are for women biography. All the rest are for men. Wow. And so there was groups starting in 2015-16 decided to, groups of women and men decided to start to write biographies of women to increase this percentage. And also trying to understand why women are not writing on Wikipedia, because it's really few the number of editors. And of course, it's women are less, there are writing on Wikipedia, there will be also less biographies on Wikipedia. And so one activity on which I'm within the Europlanet Society, it's the Planetary Wiki Editathon. So for the moment, we are doing it only virtually due to the COVID situation. But what we are doing, so a wiki editathon is a meeting, gathering, when people start to write together about a specific topic. And in our case, we are meeting to try to increase the diversity of biographies related to planetary science. And so we are meeting to write about women in planetary science articles. Okay. For example, the Europlanet Society includes mostly European researchers, but mostly researchers from the west part of Europe. So, for example, it's also interesting to increase the number of biographies from East countries, and really to increase and to show that there is a very diverse environment in our field.
But for this, you would need also more participation, probably from women from these countries who are involved not only in science, but maybe who are simply interested in these kinds of stories and can write about it on Wikipedia.
Yes, we are writing biographies, and it's an interesting way to discover scientists and histories that you never knew.
Yes.
Myself, so yes.
Yes, and to share it, I have to admit that I love Wikipedia, and every time that I have a question about something, it's probably one of the first places that I go to get information. So I think
yes, it's very important to
Wikipedia is a starting point, yes, for so many people. So making a difference on Wikipedia, both in content and in editors, would be something that has a larger impact than we would think.
Yes, exactly. Today, a lot of information, if you look for something, the first things which comes out is really Wikipedia. So it really has an impact, and it's also important to translate in other language, because most of articles are on the English Wikipedia, but not everybody can speak English. So,
yes.
So we are doing is also translating already existing article from English to our own native language. This can also have an impact on
absolutely to make it available to as many people as possible. True. Okay, well, and when is this editathon going to happen? Can other people enter as well?
In our case, it's more related to our Europlanet Society. Okay. But for example, if you are interested in something similar, you can have a look at the Wiki Women project, Women in Red, which is it was born in England, and Women in Red, because usually when a link is missing on Wikipedia, it appears in red. And there is Women in Red, which was really the first one who started the project in England, but then more or less there is in every country. For example, we are in contact with Wikidonne, which is in Italy, but there is something in France, there is one here in Belgium. So I really invite you, if you are interested, to have a look at the Wiki project Women in Red, and from there you can see all the list of countries that are involved.
We will put some information as well, make it available for our viewers of this video. Well, this has been very interesting. Is there anything else that you would like to add? I think maybe we can also quickly mention that you and I are both part of an organization, Soapbox Science, that we organize locally in Brussels. It's still a question mark whether it will be able to take place normally as it should in the streets, or if we will have to do a virtual session like we did last year. But it's also something that we do for the promotion of this image of having women researchers doing science, and hopefully motivates more of the female population of the ages to choose their studies, to know that it is a possibility if they want to become a researcher, and just to know, maybe, is there some experience? Would you like to share something about what difficulties that you have found as a woman being a researcher in all the years of your career. Is there something that you would like to share about this?
I don't think I never had a strong impact on it. It's more something that I started to be interested in with time. So when I was a student in high school or later, my teacher, my professor never were telling me, you are a girl, you should not do science. They were always pushing us, and so it was never something really clear, but with time I started to look around me and to see less and less women in the room at conference. And this is something that was starting to strike on me, to see that the further you go in career, less women you see around you. So yes, it's difficult. There are all small things that you are used to, but sometimes you realize that there are some problems, but are really unconscious problem.
Yes. Yes, it's something that's not quite visible immediately, but when you look further and further into it, you see where all the gaps lie, and the inequality is lying beneath the surface. It's something which is also difficult to argument for many people who think that, well, society has already evolved. We're being modern today. Women have all the same rights as men, and there is no issue anymore. Is there something that you would like to say when people want to put this argument forward?
Well, it's difficult to say, but I think this is important to have statistics and to have data, because we are scientists, and even on this topic, we can get our data and we can get statistics. And looking at this data, you see that there is indeed a problem. So you cannot say, and in statistics, you should one thing is your personal experience and what you see around you. But this doesn't make statistics. But on a global level, then you see that there is an impact and that there is a problem. And as a scientist, I like data, so I like. Yes, I think it's really the first steps to.
The scientific method itself shows that there is something there, and that we have to investigate, and we cannot simply say everything is fine based on our own experience. Okay, well, thank you very much, Arianna.
Thanks to you.
Interesting to talk about this, and hopefully we will move to a better future. So thank you very much, Arianna.